Good afternoon, everyone. You're very welcome to the Heat Pump Forum, my first Heat Pump Forum as Director General. Not my first Heat Pump Forum, thankfully. I started this month, early on the 2nd of September, as Director General in the Heat Pump Association. And it's been a really interesting couple of weeks. I'd like to maybe, first of all, just say we have a very good program over the next 2 days, today and tomorrow. Some interesting discussions. We have a lot of learning opportunities. We have a lot of challenges in the industry, but we also have a lot of opportunities in the industry, and hopefully we can get to discuss those and network, and maybe at the end of the 2 days have a clearer plan of where we're going for the future. I was thinking a little bit about today and the politics of heat pumps over the last while, and some various different people have said to me that, oh, but heat pumps don't work and something. So I'd just like to remind everyone that heat pumps are politically unaffiliated devices for providing heating and cooling services. They work in all buildings. They work in all climates. They don't necessarily provide money and revenues to foreign powers who use that to destabilize your economies. And I think people know that. And from all of our discussions of the past month across MEPs and Commission officials and so on, I think it's very clear that everyone still believes very strongly in the potential of heat pumps to decarbonize the European economy, but also to defund the sort of powers that seek to destabilize us. And whether you care about competitiveness, energy security, which are two different things, or the climate, stopping purchasing fossil fuels from your enemies is the most important thing you can do. And the heat pump is central to that. And particularly the heat pump powered by indigenous clean renewable electricity from Europe is central to that. And if we were to hit our target of 60 million heat pumps by 2030, that would be half of the gas coming from Russian pipelines today eliminated. And if we supplied it by clean indigenous electricity instead of the average European electricity mix, that would be 2/3. So it's a big chunk of our security problem can be solved with the humble heat pump. We're not in a good place today. We've released some data today to show that we've dropped the heat pump market share, or dropped the heat pump sales this year by 47% compared to the first 6 months of last year. There are different reasons for that in different markets. Different subsidy schemes changed, different amount of new building in different markets, different sentiments, different political challenges. But we also know that the current 24 million heat pumps that are installed in European homes and businesses displace about 5% of the EU's total building emissions. And it's about the same annual emissions as the country that has the presidency of the European Union today in Hungary, about 45 million tonnes. So we know that heat pumps work for a variety of our challenges. And what I would like to ask everyone today, and like everyone to think about over the next 2 days, are we serious? Are we serious about ridding ourselves of fossil fuels? Are we serious about divesting ourselves from the very thing that undermines our security and our democracy? Are we serious about the thing that undermines our children's future in terms of climate? Are we serious? Are we going to take this opportunity? Obviously, I'm serious. I've decided to move my family to Brussels to take this role. And I'm going to work very hard to try and deliver that vision. But I ask you all, if we are serious, investors, consumers, manufacturers need to see a serious heat pump action plan from the Commission, which has been delayed. As a former policymaker, people used to always ask me to get a piece of policy done, and I always thought getting a good piece of policy done is much better than getting a quick piece of policy done. So that's why I ask for a serious heat pump action plan. If we are serious, we need to reform the energy market. We need to make sure that we can provide cost-effective electricity to consumers, businesses, and industry in Europe. We know that that's probably the biggest driver and barrier to heat pump adoption. The Draghi report showed very clearly where gas prices are setting electricity prices, that's where you get the least heat pump uptake. And I think that's where you get the most expensive electricity, and that's where you're the least competitive. So if we are serious, we need to reform the energy markets. If we are serious, we need to make sure we have trained installers, an installer in every village, or installer in every parish, as we might say in Ireland. If we think about the next commission, if they are serious, they need to implement the Fit for 55 package that was passed by the last Parliament. I spent the last 4 years sitting at Energy Council and watching a raft of legislation pass through, and then going home to the capital trying to implement that legislation. It's going to take time, and we need guidance, but we also need to hold states and governments accountable to delivering the laws that we have passed in our democratic institutions here in Brussels. We also need to have an electrification action plan. We're not in this alone. We need to see the uptake of electric vehicles. We need to see the electrification of our society. Focused obviously today around the heat pump, but it's part of a wider electrification package that the Commission need to publish shortly, and a good one. But today I would like to also ask the industry, retailers, manufacturers, wholesalers, installers, are we serious? If we walked to the street outside and took the average homeowner off the street and said, have you tried to buy a heat pump? Would they think we're serious? Because if in many markets across Europe we pick up the phone to ring the person who installed our last gas boiler or oil boiler, they would tell us not to buy an expensive heat pump, that it's too expensive, that it costs too much to run, and it doesn't work. And that is the reality on the ground in many of our markets. So are we serious in terms of asking consumers to take that journey? Because the customer journey in many markets is not great. I spent many years trying to build a customer journey business to get people to install heat pumps, and I know what it takes. And we all know what it takes, and we all know where it isn't. So it is important that skills remains at the core of how we improve the customer journey for our customers. We also know that there are markets, I'll give you an example of Sweden, where that customer journey is very easy, where you can pick up the phone to 10 out of 10 installers, and they will quite happily say, yeah, no problem, I'll come along to do a survey. They don't have a pile of red tape. They can do all of that. We know how to do this. This is not rocket science. We have markets in Europe where the heat pump is the number one technology, or we'll say overlaps with district heating. We know we can do this. This is not impossible. We've got examples in Europe where it works. We've got examples in Europe where carbon taxation works, where we can get politically through carbon taxation. I spent 4 years battling it, and we have a really good carbon tax in Ireland. I didn't make it up. It came from Sweden. It came from Denmark. So we know we can do these things. The challenge about doing that in every one of our markets is a big mountain of work. We know we need to provide evidence base for policymakers on skills. We know we need to provide evidence base for policymakers on things like electricity markets, on electricity taxation, on grid costs, on flexibility, on there are so many different things, loans, low-cost loans, finance. We know of all the barriers and we know of all the solutions because we have them implemented in European countries, and we know that. And it's not rocket science. What it is a huge amount of work. It's granular work, it's detailed work, it's resource-intensive work. It is building a market that will deliver 60 million heat pumps by 2030. And we know how to do it because we have it done. And we have it done in many markets. So that is what I am going to do over the next 6 months. I'm going to build a strategic action plan with the staff, the really good staff of the association, with the board, with the members, with the stakeholders, and we're going to deliver that plan over the next few years. And that's what we're going to do in every market, because that is the only way we build a market that will deliver 60 million heat pumps. Nothing in it isn't known by almost everyone in the room. And that's the thing that's important. But we have to do that, and we have to communicate with our customers. We have to get the benefits for our customers, and we have to make sure we get the policy lined up. So that is my task. as I start my career in the European Heat Pump Association. That's what I'm committing to my members to do. That's what I'm committing to my staff to do. And I hope everyone helps me. Because I know that this is going to require resourcing. This is going to require resourcing of the European Heat Pump Association to do much more work. It's going to require resourcing of every national association to deliver the sort of policy objectives, to deliver the sort of communications plans, to work with the manufacturers, retailers, installers in every market to ensure that we deliver on that plan. So that's the main point I'd like to say. And maybe just, I'll introduce the next speaker, Martin. But I'll ask Martin as part of his speech, Martin, is the European Parliament serious? Is the European Parliament serious in following up on the Fit for 55 package? And maybe you might cover that in a little bit of your talk. But just to start, and a little bit of an introduction to Martin, if I can find the right introduction. Martin is obviously a second-term MEP, comes from Slovakia, led some really interesting campaigns as part of looking after human rights, looking after animal rights, and looking after Greenpeace. And I definitely know from his CV, his heart and his head is in the right place. So, Martin, I will ask you to take the floor and maybe you can answer a question. Is the Parliament serious about implementing the Fit for 55 package?